Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back from me, Transpicuous News again. It's August 1st, 2016, and I just have to say, I kind of went offline for like 10 days. Traveling, sorting out stuff, temporary flat to another temporary flat to another temporary flat. 10 days, that's it. It was just 10 days. And in 10 days, holy shit, the world went fucking insane. Again, I just, love the insanity. No, not really. So, doing today's show a little bit different because really the amount of news was kind of overwhelming. So, I'm not going to be showing you all the screenshots. I'm just going to walk you through my notes. Just my notes from the last, 5, 6, 8 days or so. A lot of interesting stuff has been going on. So let's just get into it, shall we? So first of all, one of the big news stories is there's an anthrax outbreak in Siberia. Out of the blue, 75 years since the last time anthrax has ever been seen. And now all of a sudden they've got a massive outbreak. Just at the time when, the US and NATO nations are rattling their swords and, setting up weapons defense shields on Russia's border, and all of a sudden there just happens to be an anthrax outbreak in Russia. Because, it's not like the US Department of Defense doesn't like to play with anthrax. Doesn't have a history of playing with anthrax at all. No, nothing to see here. Okay, speaking of the US Armed Forces, apparently they're having issues with aiming their bombs again in Syria. In the last week alone, I think there's been 3 airstrikes that have been carried out by US and allied forces in Syria. The first one killed 50 civilians. The second one that was near Aleppo. The next one killed 18 in another airstrike. And on Friday, U.S. forces bombed a maternity and children's hospital in Syria, killing 2 women, and severing the leg off a pregnant woman who was there for her checkup. So there you go. And of course, dead silence this time again. Dead silence, not a single word. They're not even, it's kind of like, oh, really? Reports, oh, well, we'll look into it. Yeah, we'll look into it. That's it. That's the response. I guess we could look into it. Makes me nuts. Okay, so this is a major piece. This next little piece is a major piece because people need to connect the dots on this one. There's a lot of dots. So if you remember, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, in Cologne, Germany, there was all these attacks reported that happened. Refugee migrants, Islamic men, attacking women during the big street party for New Year's Eve in Cologne, Germany. And the initial reports, if you'll remember, they were only happening in Cologne, Germany. That's it. Well, the one big report, the one that made the mainstream media go insane, the one report that started everything was the German woman who claimed that she was gang raped outside of a train station in Cologne, Germany. This is the report the mainstream media spread everywhere that started massive protests all over Europe, that started the formation of gangs of civilians going out and burning mosques and attacking groups of refugees and migrants. This is that report. And that woman has just now completely admitted that she lied about the whole thing. She wasn't even in Cologne, Germany that night. She was nowhere near the city. The entire report is fictitious. Now, here's the thing. All my American friends and a lot of our friends who fully get the crisis actors, They get it, you know, in the Boston bombings, in what happened, Brussels airport, Nice, the crisis actors fucking everywhere. But when you try and explain to a lot of people that those same crisis actors that are used in these terrorist attacks are also used in other things, i.e., like going in front of news cameras and making up a completely fake story, being paid to make up a completely fake story, is what we will find out. Sooner or later about this woman, we'll find out that she was actually paid. Someone that wants to do the homework, we'll find that she's she was hired by one of these crisis actor companies, etc. So understanding the ramifications of what was caused that day by her report and everything that happened since then, and now the fact that the report, her own words, completely fictitious, never happened at all. Where's mainstream media coverage on this? I don't hear it. I don't hear it anywhere. Do you? Because I don't hear it. Okay, so just put that out there, folks. Keep this in mind when you see these kinds of reports that are pushed across the mainstream media. Let's see, next up. Oh, okay, this one was really, really interesting. Pope Francis was in Poland this weekend, and he made a statement that was very, very interesting, and I'm going to read it out for you. This isn't, you know, verbatim, so to speak, because, well, it was a long bit of pieces, but I'm going to read you the most important pieces. There's this one, now there is this one war. It is perhaps not organic, but it is organized, and it is war. This is not a war of religion. There is a war of interests. There is a war for money. There is a war for natural resources. This is a war for the domination of peoples. This is the war. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. This is the Pope saying, there's a war going on. And what he's basically saying is, it's a global war. We're not talking about, you know, oh, there's, you know, a war here, there's a war in Syria, there's a war in Ukraine or whatever. No, no, this is a global war. It's a war of interests over power and domination of the people. His choice of words, I thought, were very, very interesting. Okay, so let's see. Let's go on here. This is actually interesting. Catalonia, and I reported on this on Transpicuous News, like a year and a half ago, when they had their first vote, they've just voted again to secede from Spain. And this time it says they're preparing to seek independence with or without Madrid's backing. Basically giving the finger to Spain, saying, yeah, we're leaving, and you don't get a say. Interesting. Again, interesting timing. Are we going to see Venice redo their vote again? Are we going to see Sardinia do their vote again to push through their independence? Interesting timing. Interesting timing. Okay, so another report came out this week. Again, no mainstream media coverage. Governments of Central and Eastern European countries have been selling an unprecedented amount of weapons and ammunition to the Middle East, over $1 billion US. And some of these weapons have landed in the hands of ISIS. Oops, sorry. Kind of like, you know, the US send weapons over and they just happen somehow to end up in the hands of Al-Qaeda and ISIS and Al-Nusra. In France, you know, some of their weapons that they send over just happen to end up in the hands of terrorists. Just totally by accident. Totally. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing that happened is we had an absolutely bizarre week of terrorist attacks. Now, one of the big ones, of course, was the attack in Japan. Japanese men killed 19 disabled people who were in a hospital. It's an extremely bizarre one. extremely bizarre. But beyond that, we had attacks in France. So there was the priest killed in France. And there was another priest apparently was just attacked today in somewhere, I believe, in France. And then there was a whole slew of terrorist attacks in Germany, which I found really interesting when you consider that right in the middle of all those terrorist attacks, Deutsche Bank releases its numbers for this quarter, and they've lost 98% of their profits this year. Again, should we connect some dots? What's the one country in the European Union who's basically been holding up the entire European Union for the last decade? That would be Germany. What bank in Germany has been kind of the, let's say, supporting pillar for a lot of the shit that's going on in the European Union financially? That would be Deutsche Bank. When Deutsche Bank loses 98% of its profits, it just so happens that there's all these terrorist attacks in Germany right when those numbers are being, oh, look at the terrorists. Don't look at the banking stuff. Look at the terrorists. Look at the terrorists. Be afraid. Don't look at the banking stuff. No, seriously. Don't look at the banking stuff. Yeah. The European stress test, banking stress test, was also released this week. One of the biggest banks in Italy failed so bad that they've apparently spent the whole weekend in powwow trying to come up with $5 billion to float themselves. Otherwise, they're done. Again, there's talk. Little bits talked about it in the media, and they point to always one bank. It's always like, oh, look at this bank in Italy. Don't look at all the other banks in Italy that are bankrupt. You know, don't look at Spain, Portugal. Don't look at them. Greece. Oh, definitely don't look at Greece. All these banks, they're all going bankrupt. And they're blaming it on everything. I mean, literally, like I said, we had Brexit last month, and that was whole blame. All the Brexit is causing the banks to fail, even though they've been failing for years. Anyway, Bank of Scotland's failing. Oh, because of Brexit. No, it's been bankrupt for 4 years. Right? Very interesting, the distractions this summer. In the midst of what is epic financial failure in Europe and in North America, but that's for another report. Epic financial failure. Things are interesting. Things are really interesting. Now, I want to talk about a little bit about, oh God, the Olympics. Yes, apparently it's Olympics time again. I ignore this shit for the most part, which is actually really sad for me because now I ignore it for, let's call it political, ideological reasons. I refuse to even watch the Olympics anymore, and that's hard on me. I used to be an athlete. Olympics was, I was glued to a TV screen for 2 full weeks. No one saw me. No one heard from me during the Olympics. So this will be my third Olympics running where I have completely boycotted anything to do with them. But you gotta wonder about this. Seriously, I mean, first of all, Rio. I mean, when they chose Rio, you kind of went, really? You're choosing Rio to hold the Olympics in? And the reports are coming out are unbelievable, like fast and furious. Like, the country cost them, I think, $900 million to host the Olympics. The country is destitute. Apparently, they're not paying half of the things like police and fire. There was police in the Rio airport holding up a massive banner saying to all the Olympians arriving, saying, welcome to hell. There's no police and no firemen. We haven't been paid. So your safety is highly questionable now. Okay, we've got reports of things like the open water events, things like rowing and sailing, that the water is just like disgusting, full of excrement. That would be shit. Full of like garbage, refuse, disgustingness. And that, of course, the athletes are already getting reports of athletes are being threatened that you just will do your event and shut up, don't say anything else. Then you have, of course, the Russian team, which depending on which report, I literally sat down and tried to figure out today what now is, what's going on this moment. So depending on reports, anywhere from the entire Russian team has been banned to over 100 different athletes from the Russian team have been banned for doping. Now, because, you know, it's not like all the other countries don't do doping, right? It's not like, you know, some of the most famous athletes on the planet haven't been done and caught doping, right? And of course, it's not political. Don't them kicking Russia out of the Olympics. It's not political. Don't be silly. Yeah, not political at all. Okay, now, and of course, the other thing is the Zika virus shit is hitting another epic wave of such utter ridiculousness. It's beyond imagining. And things like Olympic Committee handing out Zika virus kits to protect the athletes while they're in Rio. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Again, shall we run through this? Zika virus, first diagnosed in 1946. It's a harmless virus. 90% of people don't even get sick. They don't even know they've had it. There's never been a death. There's never been a birth defect ever attributed to Zika virus. Ever. So this microencephaly, from, you know, these babies are getting microencephaly, we're blaming it on Zika virus, and yet the two things that we know causes microencephaly, glyphosate and vaccines. Yes, the DTaP vaccine in particular, the one that they're forcing on women to have while they're pregnant. It's studied, we know it causes encephaly. The fact that they're doing things like, oh, the first Zika microencephaly case baby was born in Florida. Oh, yeah. Do you know how many cases of microencephaly are born in the US every year? Something like 25,000 babies are born every year in the US with microencephaly. Has nothing to do with Zika virus. Has a lot to do with glyphosate and vaccines. So they're really, really pushing this to the point that Florida apparently had health workers were going door to door demanding urine samples from everyone just to test for Zika virus. I hope no one's falling for that one. Okay, so now we're going to talk, painful as it is, about the American elections. Because if ever there was a dog and pony show, a 3-ring circus, or I guess we could call it a 2-ring circus, of epic proportions, this is it. I don't even know where to start. So we're just going to jump right in, because you get to the point where it's just like, it's so epically ridiculous that you can't even begin to be able to talk about it. So first of all, we have Bernie Sanders admits defeat, and he is now endorsing Hillary Clinton. Again, I said this was going to happen. Oh, let's say that was, a year ago, pretty much a year ago. Hold on, guys, I'm having problems with my notes here. Just give me a quick second. A year ago. And here we go. And Bernie Clinton, oh, that's funny. That's kind of an epic slip up. Bernie Clinton is returning to the Senate and go as an independent, because he was voted as an independent, so he's going to return as an independent. Hence the fact he was never seriously a candidate for the Democratic Party. He was a distraction, only a distraction. Pull all the people in, and then turn around and endorse Hillary. It was planned out from the beginning. It's totally what it was all about. Now, we have the big news, of course, the IRS is going to investigate the Clinton Foundation for fraud and money laundering, God knows what else. And you have to laugh, because it's like, really? The FBI took 18 months to investigate Hillary Clinton over her emails and found her not guilty when she was guilty as fucking hell. So the IRS is going to investigate the Clinton Foundation. What, 2 years? 2 years is going to take, I guess. And they'll be found not guilty. But it's kind of funny anyway. Oh, and by the way, if you were watching the whole Democratic convention thing, which I totally stayed far away from, Bill Clinton looked like a broken down zombie for the entire thing. Like literally, like he was a wind up toy, like they had, and someone kept forgetting to put the key in his back and wind him up because he just, seriously, wow. Okay, so another piece of the puzzle became very, very clear, and I want to thank whoever it was who put this together. It came by my page as a meme that someone had just posted. I was like, oh, and of course I went and checked all the facts, and totally accurate. So in 2008, Hillary Clinton's campaign co-chair was Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The then Democratic Party chairman stepped down in 2011 and recommended Wasserman to replace him. The former chairman of the Democratic Party who recommended Debbie Wasserman, you know, Hillary Clinton's co-chair, was Tim Kaine, who is now Hillary Clinton's choice for vice president. Do you see the circles? Do you just see how that all works? And seriously, if people cannot see this shit, there's just no help for some people. During the Democratic convention, they had an ad out on Craigslist. I have the screenshot of it, calling for 700 actors needed for National Democrat convention. They needed 700 actors to fill the seats and cheer for Hillary. That was part of it. You must cheer for Hillary. Applause, applause. See, apparently their applause and cheering machine and laugh track machine just wasn't working that well. Or it could have been the fact that kind of like even the news were like looking at the completely empty frickin' grandstands going, oh, this looks bad. We need to fill some seats fast. And the other big thing on this one is what comes out now, and this is, people have a nasty habit of just forgetting. We all forget these pieces of shit. June 2015, fully outed that Donald Trump was a major campaign supporter of the Clinton Foundation. Yeah. So, I'm just going to kind of reiterate this. Hillary Clinton has already been chosen to be your next president, all you Americans. In 2008, when she stepped aside for Obama, she was told then that she would get, when he was finished his terms, that she would be put in. I can remember the reports on this back in 2008, very, very clearly. She's already been chosen. So they put in a stooge called Donald Trump to grandstand the Republican Party, to make a dog and pony show out of the whole thing. And basically, he wins the Republican nomination. But the fact that he is a major campaign, and I don't mean major as in, you know, here's a couple $1,000. I mean major as in tens of millions of dollars. Donations to the Clinton Foundation. We've seen the pictures. We've all seen the pictures of them all, Bill and Hillary and Trump and what's her name, his wife of the day, whatever, all chummy at gala after gala, pictures from like even the 80s of Hillary and Donald Trump, all chummy. So if you actually think that Donald Trump's running, yeah, he's just, again, he's just the puppet that's been put into place just to keep everyone distracted. But we'll see how that plays out, shall we? Now, of course, the last thing I want to talk about is Turkey. Turkey is a clusterfuck. An entirely complete clusterfuck. Erdogan, he is the new Pol Pot. And it's interesting to watch the Western media kind of having this moments of like, not sure what we should say because they're a NATO country, but he's obviously a madman. Yeah, Erdogan is the new Pol Pot for this generation. If you don't know who Pol Pot is, I would suggest you go do a little history lesson on how many thousands, if not, no, actually millions of people Pol Pot killed when he came into power. So basically, let's give you a quick rundown of what's happened just in the last week. Erdogan's declared a state of emergency for the next 3 months, which gives him the ultimate power in Turkey. He has the say-so on fucking everything. He's decided that the National Intelligence Organization, MIT, and the military chief of staff now, and all military, now report directly to him. No one else, i.e., no parliamentary oversight. They all report to him. So far, let's go through this. Over 15,000 people have been arrested. The army's been completely destroyed and put directly under Erdogan's command. Almost 3,000 lawyers and judges have been fired. Lawyers and judges. 15,000 education workers have been fired. Again, a la Pol Pot. Academics have been banned from travel, and overseas teachers have been ordered back home to Turkey. This is even including foreign nationals who are teaching in Turkey, were ordered. It was summer break right now. They were all sent an email saying, you will return to work at 8:30 tomorrow morning, or else. And they're also banned from travel under the travel advisory. Foreign teachers on Turkish soil have also, as academics, been banned from any travel. They're not even allowed to leave Istanbul. Let's see, what else do we have? All military schools have been closed down. 131 media outlets were closed down, and anyone speaking out against Erdogan's regime is labeled a terrorist. They're now talking about bringing back the death penalty because apparently, as Erdogan says, the Turkish people want the death penalty. I'm sure they do. Basically, they're labeling anyone, again, who speaks out against Erdogan as enemy of the state in the media. And there are calls in Europe and Germany and France in particular that there is about to be a massive brain drain in Turkey. Because anyone with any ability, i.e. the financial ability or the smarts to do it, are leaving Turkey. You're going to see a massive flood. Anyone who's a professional, doctors, lawyers, teachers, university professors, scientists, they're going to be running like fuck out of Turkey because they've got to see where the writing is on the wall. Going to be really, really interesting. And there's serious worries in Cyprus right now that as Erdogan now has a full head of steam and is taking control of the country as a dictator, basically call him Sultan Erdogan, that he will reinvade Cyprus. And apparently the Cypriots are more than a little bit nervous at the moment. So, yeah, that's the world in general. And like I said, that was just the highlights of the last 5-6 days of the insanity. Oh my fucking God. Lots and lots of fucking distractions going on. Lots and lots of fucking distractions going on. Lots of interesting stuff going on financially, politically, and lots of things to keep the public distracted from looking at them. I will say this, I'll be keeping close watch on the Rio Olympics because I'm expecting something major to come out of there. And I don't mean, you know, like the whole thing with the London Olympics and, oh, there's going to be a nuclear bomb drop. Yeah, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, just watch. We're going to see some pretty interesting shit come out of there. I guarantee it. Yeah, so that's it for me for today. I'll be back more often, hopefully. Still trying to work on the whole Wi-Fi thing. It's not happening. But we're working on it. But I will see you all soon. Bye, guys.